Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I can tell you, based on the statistics that I rattled off, that like LSU's not completing enough deep passes. I can speak very confidently and comfortably about that, and I did so at the top of the show. Like, there are numbers that are hardwired and obvious. This is a little more ambiguous, and I'm not there for the communication on either side of the ball for LSU. But Brian Kelly kind of talked about both sides of the ball and how communication has gone. The first was talking about the play calling structure between Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan and Garrett Nussmeier and how that play gets onto the field.
Joe Sloan will call the plays. They'll certainly be on my headset. And look, like any head coach, he's going to be involved in the ultimate decision of whether that's a go or a no-go. Now, as you know, communication has broadened. That communication includes the quarterback as well. So it can't be this long, conversation about, this play, that play, or it becomes confusing to what he's hearing in his ear because the head coach is on that and the play caller, both on defense and offense. So there's only three of us that have that with the green dot. The key here is the ability to make sure that the game is going in the manner that I want it to go in. At times, you have to take that action as a head coach. Not that somebody's being put in the penalty box, but making sure it goes through the vision that I have for that particular game.
And that's the line where a lot of people, and I think there are people that are in this line of work that might jump in and say, see, he put him in the penalty box. Kelly's meddling. He's got the play sheet. He's overriding Sloan. Nussmeier's confused. They don't know what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. That sounds like a very standard first take style sports talk radio show. And I just don't really operate like that. My instinct is to say, well, I know that Brian Kelly is hearing this. I know he's telling me he doesn't override. I know he's telling me that Joe Sloan is calling the plays, that Garrett Nussmeier is getting them. And I just take that on its face. I have not seen a lot of instances where Garrett Nussmeier is holding his hands over his ears at the helmet and yelling back at the sideline for everybody to hurry up. It doesn't appear to me that there is a noticeable break in that chain. There is a noticeable inefficiency in the play getting in. I think LSU is getting the play in. Do I think they're executing it properly? Probably not. But I don't tend to leap immediately to, oh, this is a nightmare. Kelly's calling plays. He's benching Sloan. He's only keeping Sloan because Sloan's hooked to Underwood, and now he's stuck with it. That's all going too far for me. I don't know that. I think they're just not playing very well on offense right now. That's my take on the matter. Now, Brian Kelly continued about being able to override on the helmet comp.
So Garrett can hear you too?
Yes, yeah. I can override that. I choose not to, but it's something that you can do if you wanted to as the head coach.
Fine, that's fine. I heard Hester talk about this earlier today, and I'm always going to defer to he and T-Bob on matters like this because I have never had a helmet comm on. I have never been in the huddle with someone who had helmet comm on. I've never been in a stadium that had 100,000 people in it. That's beyond me. But Jake said, based on his experience in huddles, his experience watching LSU operate, and now his experience with a headset on simultaneously calling the game on the radio, his job solely in that spot is to speak between plays. Once one play ends, the tackle or somebody runs out of bounds or it's incomplete, Jake's got it until Blair needs to reset. And he's saying that happens really quick. I oftentimes don't have enough time to finish my thought before Chris has got to set the formation again. So it's not like LSU is taking forever. There was a time with Les Miles here in Baton Rouge where y'all remember the check with me stuff starting. And LSU would get to the sideline, and then everybody would stare at the sideline. LSU would get to the line of scrimmage. Everyone would stare at the sideline and wait. And you could watch that and say, okay, there's a lot of talking going on, a lot of communication going on. It's not very quick. It's deliberate. And none of that is really the case with LSU right now. I don't sense that communication is a big problem. I sense that execution is a big problem. I don't sense there's some sort of fractured relationship between Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan, that there is some sort of complete lack of trust in Joe Sloan by Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly's got the headset on. He may have an offensive play sheet. I think that Joe Sloan is making the calls and Garrett Nussmeier is running it. They just need to do a better job of running it and calling the plays. But I don't think the communication is a big issue. Now, contrary to that, Whitt Weeks was doing an interview after the game on Saturday. He said, hey, y'all's running defense was pretty good all week, all weekend, all Saturday. And then you gave up the 55-yarder. What happened? And Whitt Weeks said, well, half of us were in one play and half of us were in another play. And that's one where your eyes about fall out of your head. You go, what? This is game 10. We're in late November, and we got half the unit that doesn't know what the play is? That's tough to stomach. And Brian Kelly was asked about that specific quote.
I'm disappointed that certainly there was a feeling that there were some mixed calls or signals out there. I think one of the big things that we've learned in this new era of communication in the headset for the players is there needs to be one voice. And even if you have the green dot, the one voice needs to be consistent and constant. And maybe that occurred. You know, we're trying to get to the end of that too and what happened there. But clearly that's on us as coaches. We have to make sure that there's clear communication and that there's no mixed messages relative to what being called.
Now, I started this segment telling you that I am only really truly comfortable talking about what I know. And that I'm not in the huddle and I don't know what they're telling the green dot or who's wearing the green dot, and I don't know what was relayed and what the assignments were and who blew it and why they were a touchdown and all this I don't know those kind of things. But I do know this. I do know that Brian Kelly just said right there, what we've learned is there really just needs to be one voice. So it sounds like that they've experimented with multiple voices and they've experimented multiple ways with the green dot. And I also know that in the course of fall camp, they were moving that green dot helmet all over the defense. Greg Penn had it. Major Burns had it. Sage Ryan had it. Like, they were moving it to different guys on different levels a lot during fall camp. And it sounds like they may not have fully settled on who it is that should have that. And part of this new era of college football, with all these new rules and equipment changes and all that, part of it is staying on top of all that, being ahead of the curve. And it feels like almost into an entire season with the helmet comm that they're still figuring out how to use it. And that's a little disappointing. You would like LSU to go into that first game with USC knowing who's going to have that green dot and who's going to communicate the plays and how the plays are going to be disseminated from there and all those types of things. Like, that's how this thing should run. And it sounds like they've kind of had to feel their way through it. That's a bit of a bummer, but you hope that they've figured a few things out and maybe they can get it together the last 2 weeks against a couple of teams that, quite frankly, aren't very good. So we'll see. That's Brian Kelly talking about their communication on offense and on defense. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.